Maybe that was Sonny Bono who died in the skiing
I think he died skiing. He died skiing. Yep. Yeah, he
I don't
ran
know.
into a tree. Oh.
Yeah, oh fuck, yeah, he died silly. That's not good.
Yo, the reason I remember that is because Redman turned it into a punchline.
Oh,
like,
shit.
very soon after it happened. Because, he's a big weed smoker. He said, I hit more trees than Sonny Bono.
Fuck.
That's really mean.
Yeah, that's fucking mean. But also, it's a good bar. It's a good line. Good for Redman.
The government growing babies. Microchips in your anus. All koala bears are racist. The ozone layer owes me money. Martians invented turkey stuffing. Y'all can't tell me nothing.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another spectacular episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of black conspiracy theories, and we finally work to prove that Ty Dolla $ign is the devil. You can't trust a black man with eyes like a rare Yu-Gi-Oh card. They're too light. There's no reason for that giant black man to have them blue evil eyes. He's the devil, and I know it, Ty Dolla $ign. That money symbol can't fool me. You are evil, sir. I am your host, Langston Kerman. As always, I'm excited to be here. My guest today, we have a great guest today. He's hilarious. He's talented. He's exceptional. We were just talking about how good he is on a fucking pad, like a sound pad, and how terrible I am. But that doesn't matter. You know him from The New Negroes on Comedy Central, a wonderful show. You know him from his brand new album, Anime, Trauma, and Divorce. He's an exceptional artist. You're gonna love him. Please give it up for my guest, Mr. Open Mike Ego.
Oh, wow. That was probably the best introduction I've had all pandemic.
Hell
That
yeah.
was great.
You mean when the period when no one's introducing you to anything?
Yeah,
I love that.
Exactly. Usually the attempts are they're just sad,
Sure. They're just
that was good.
I don't even know if this is his real name. I guess his name is Open. I'm excited you're here.
Yeah, man.
Let's get into it. Let's
just real quick. I saw you on TV the other day on The Boys, and I let
hell
out
yeah.
an audible yell, like, Langston! Oh, shit! It was great.
They made me get buff for that role, and then I just sat
man.
there.
And you really acting, too. It's great. It's good
Thanks,
stuff, man.
I had to be a creepy dude with muscles. It was nice. It was a fun time. But we don't have time for that. We got to get into this goddamn conspiracy.
Yes, right.
Because you came to me with one that I guess sort of connects even to the question of a person acting on television. The conspiracy theory you brought was My Mama Told Me.
Hollywood has a gay agenda.
Yep.
Talk to me about it. Tell me
Well,
more.
okay, my mama didn't tell me, but every barber I've ever had, I mean, Chicago to LA, different shops, it don't matter.
Yeah.
They always believe that because they always have something on TV, either the news or BET.
Yeah.
And they are commenting on what's happening. And once anything even I won't say slightly homosexual, but just like anything that's not traditional manly man imagery.
Yeah, heteronormative shit.
That's a better word. Oh my God, thank you. Once anything slightly less than heteronormative happens, then then out comes they only want to show us in certain ways because they're trying to emasculate the black man and have been doing so for 2,000 years.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always, and for our listeners at home who have not yet been privy to the wisdom of a barber, it is always rooted in this conspiracy that by making black men gayer, we are somehow undermining the black community, that it is like the destruction of the nuclear family, as it were.
And that gay images are intentionally reflected back to us in order to make us more gay over time.
Yes.
Is the other part of the theory.
Yes. So we become more gay. And then subsequently, and I know this is always a part of it, and it's not always a part that maybe is articulated. It's that we become more gay and then we become weaker because of that gay.
Of
that
course.
like-
oh no, it's all very negative.
Yeah.
From this perspective. They very much believe that hetero is the way to be.
Sure.
and that anything else is a programming error and
Right.
it needs to be fought against.
That's fair. Yeah, it's never like a good thing. They're not like you'll become more gay and then your apartment's going to be real clean and
Smell a little better, you know, none of that. Yeah, they don't see anything but what they consider to be the dark side.
you're going to become more gay and then you're going to get some of those sweet abs that all the gay men have. And that's pretty cool.
It is.
I hope you like it. No, it's a fascinating, I think, conversation, almost like a checkpoint that every black man goes through in their experience of like, you're going to have an older black dude at some point sell you on this idea. And the question really becomes, how bought in do you want to be to the premise that Hollywood is trying to make you gay? I guess my question for you is, how bought in were you the first time you heard this? How much were you believing this to be true?
I mean, I've always known a lot of gay people,
Mhm.
like, and I've never been like judgmental or never thought that it was somehow lesser than. So this always sounded ridiculous to me.
Right.
And the other thing is, I mean, I feel like this conspiracy theory, like most of them, also kind of reflects. My brain wants to say education level, but that's not it. It's more like how much information, like real information, somebody has at hand or somebody has consumed.
Yeah.
It's like it comes from a place of like, oh, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm gonna stay here in this barbershop and make shit up. And then when people come in here saying some shit that sounds interesting, I'm just gonna stick with that. But I'm not gonna really read anything.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna go have other experiences other places. I'm just gonna perpetuate this shit because it sounds cool and it makes me feel smarter.
Yeah, I do. And to that point, some of it also feels like a lack of control. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That like
100%.
you don't have control in certain parts of your life because the government and poverty and all the reasons why we often feel like we don't have control. And so subsequently you go, well, where do I have control? And part of that is just making up your own truth. You go like, well, if I can make this true and if I can convince other people that it's true, then I have a power that I otherwise wouldn't have because, you know, I'm broke and I don't know how to fix that.
Right. And it's, yeah, you're right. Because it's reflective of not understanding how systems work. If you don't understand how systems work, then it just looks as if everything is being puppeteered by some force that's just right outside of your grasp. And if somebody comes along saying something that checks the box of explaining that somehow, but also aligns with any other beliefs you have, like if you happen to believe somehow that being gay is also bad, and also you were told that these forces who you can't see are pushing that on you, well, then that checks a couple of boxes, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's how the world works, you know?
Right. And I think there are also those weird, to your point, there are those weird affirming moments that make your ideas feel at least somewhat valid that then force you to go even further down that tunnel of your belief, right?
Yeah. I got a haircut right after it had to be the week that Moonlight won that Oscar. That was a bad day in the barbershop, man. That was a bad day. Because I'm sitting there and they're saying that shit, and I'm just like, yo, that movie's amazing, though.
It's so good.
Like, it's really good. And the whole time that I saw the movie and I'm reveling and celebrating in its accomplishments, I'm thinking how awesome it is that we have a black gay story with that sort of representation, and it's getting that sort of recognition.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the barbershop and they just think this is the end of the world to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I know I have to believe they were going down the train of like, you know, they wasn't even supposed to win. They didn't even call out their name, but somebody got in the earpiece and was like, no, give it to the gay people so we can make the niggas gay. It's like,
All
whoa.
of that, you know?
It's wild. And then I remember, and maybe you similarly have this memory, I think my first sense of this quote unquote gay agenda came out of like the conversation about black men in dresses. That like there was that whole theory that anytime they put a black man on TV in a dress, it was sort of like a transition in his career.
Right.
Martin Lawrence, the you know, the Eddie Murphys, whoever it was, that they stopped being connected with the black community and were suddenly now like Hollywood elites who were being puppeted by the white man.
Right. And they were willing to, like, they were basically showing they were willing to do whatever it takes.
Yes.
To be, you know, to be rich, to be positioned that way. And then, that was a signal that they were willing to turn away from you know, the traditional idea of black manhood in order to do what the white man thinks is funny, which those people also think is by self-denigration, you know, by making fun of yourself to that degree.
Right. And I guess I wonder, the question I have for you is how much of that, because I found myself, and this is a better way of framing it, I found myself even as a kid being like, I don't hate gay people. I like gay people. I don't, or certainly don't have any, you know, hard feelings in any direction about like them based on the fact that they like kissing somebody of the same sex. But I also don't want to be a sellout. I don't want to be like a person who like my peers would view that way. So yeah, I'll never wear a dress. I'll never commit to any of these homoerotic images so that nobody could ever question my commitment to the black man and black community and all that stuff.
I think, and if you're getting at what I think you're getting at, I do think there's that kernel of something that resonates in that, about when you are a black man entering the entertainment industry, you do feel, especially if you're not doing, you know, shows with black writers, black producers, you know, black showrunners, you're on guard to make sure that you're not being put in a position that's going to cost you your credibility.
Right.
And so, like, even though you're not bringing a homophobia to it or transphobia to it, you do feel this certain sense of needing to protect your image. And so you're kind of on the lookout for stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, you're constantly sort of on edge for this thing that, even though it's not coming from your own hatred, is coming from someone else's hatred, and you're sort of like trying to not articulate it, but it's coming out either way. It's a fucked up dance that we find ourselves in.
And that, you know, like, and that's the thing, you know, when people argue against the idea of privilege, like, that's one of the perfect examples. It's not like privilege means you automatically have it easier. Privilege means there's just certain inner conversations you don't have to have. You get to devote that brain power and brain space into something else. You don't have to worry about like wearing the whole weight of a culture on your shoulders every time you get an opportunity, like that sort of thing.
I mean, and that's, you know, in some sense, it is what makes those artists who are able to escape that so groundbreaking. But like Young Thug wearing a fucking, you know, beautiful gown on his album cover is a groundbreaking decision, no matter how you want to spin it. But then the danger of that goes back to that same question of like, how much responsibility does he still have to the community that then judges him or wants him to do something different than the choice that he made? Yeah.
I mean, you know, what goes on in mainstream rap now is really interesting on that level because, you know, 10, 15 years ago, I guess you'd have to say 15 now, it was just unheard of for somebody to be positioned or depicted in any way other than just like the hardest of hard dude. I mean, you know, in the 90s, you had rappers who were positioned to be a little lighter, like a MC Hammer or a Fresh Prince, like where they weren't super street. But then, you know, after like 2000, it got so homogenized that everybody was really leaning into that. And so if you look at that versus now and how much room mainstream rappers have to express themselves visually all these different ways, it's really interesting. But it does feed back into that conversation where like the dudes in the barbershop are like, wait a minute, can I still like this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's I think they're asking themselves, can I still like this? And the even scarier part is out loud, they're definitively going, nobody should like this.
Right.
And you know, that's the old head shit where they go like, nope, I don't fuck with it. That's some new shit. That's these young kids. They are the product of the gay agenda that sort of was already at play during the younger hip hop era, or the older rather hip hop era. And now you're just letting the gay agenda live out its, you know, its worst, our worst fears is living out in front of us through an Uzi, through a Young Thug, through a Frank Ocean, whoever the fuck it is that sort of is kind of just being themselves, or at least
just doing them.
Yeah.
And it's just really reflecting. Because the interesting thing is, too, they're reflecting the street culture of now, too. Like, the street culture of now isn't super baggy pants and big hoodies or even long white tees. Like, it's like fitted clothes and really expensive belts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's a different vibe in the streets now. And, of course, you know, mainstream rap is going to reflect that, too. But then, you know, I do wonder for people who believe that stuff, how do they bridge that? You know, how do they bridge? I guess it kind of leads into what you're saying, where like they look at it, they look at the tight pants and are like, oh, well, there you go.
Right.
Gay agenda.
It worked.
Checking the boxes. Yeah, exactly. It's funny, too, that you mentioned old heads, because it makes me think about Lord Jamar from Brand Nubian, who is like the mascot. He's like the quintessential old head, and he's one of the main ones that are always using their social media, using their YouTube, you know, doing DJ Vlad interviews, tearing down things that seem to, from their perspective, come from that place. But Lord Jamar was on Oz. If I'm not mistaken, Lord Jamar's entire penis was out when he was walking around the jail. And it's like, if you wasn't part of the gay agenda then, how are you so sure that everybody else is now?
You don't think having your dick meat out on HBO if the presumption is that literally seeing dicks, seeing anything that is homoerotic is going to tempt me into homosexuality. You having your dick meat out had to do something for me. It had to have moved me in some direction.
And and on the same episode, there's, you know, all sorts of stuff was happening, you know, with men on men touching. So, you know, it's always struck me as hilarious that he's out there finger wagging against people doing the slightest bit of, you know, gender expression.
Yeah.
And he was on the gayest show on television at that time.
Right. And I will say there's another layer of irony in going on a Vlad TV to complain about the gay agenda when you're talking to a white dude who is essentially like appropriating black culture and hip hop culture for his own benefit. Like, you're complaining to, in theory, the oppressor while about his oppression, about what you're seeing as like something oppressive in your community.
Right, and using his platform to do it when he don't give a damn about what happens to none of us.
Right. He's not invested in the beef that Nick Cannon started. He's just going to get Nick Cannon to say whatever the fuck he can. I guess one of the parts that always fascinated me with this is I do 100% believe that I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that there is, in fact, a quote unquote gay agenda, right? That we are, by showing us gay imagery or homoerotic imagery, we are somehow being tempted towards becoming gay people. That's not how that works. But I do wonder how much you believe about Hollywood undermining Black celebrities. Like, how much of it do you buy in that way, even if it isn't rooted in sort of like gayness, if you will?
Well, you know, I tend to push back against that kind of argument because I look at Hollywood for the most part like a giant conglomeration of different corporations. And at the end of the day, they want to do what makes money.
Right.
You know, like if you're Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount, whatever company it is, at the end of the day, like, if you're a high level exec, you're trying to keep your job, you're trying to get your bonus, you're trying to show that quarter earning, whatever it is that has to happen. Like, are you really gonna take the time out of your day to knock down an entertainer or somebody who could be making you money just because they're black?
Right.
Like, I think in the past that definitely could have been the case in some sense, just out of like personal feelings that people have about other races and other cultures. But it's like now I can't see them taking the time out. I can't see them putting the energy into doing that kind of thing when at the end of the day they're always trying to do whatever it takes to make one penny more than the next man.
Yeah, I think to your point, it's very likely that there are individuals in all industries who are like, I don't want niggas reading around me. That makes me angry. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that these motherfuckers don't be reading. But in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't mean that the industry as a whole like had a meeting and agreed on that. It just means that one dude has a passion for making sure black people don't read. And he's going to do his best to work that out however he can. Even if that means putting a dude in a dress and then making him not read. Then it's double effective. Put that dress on, close that book, motherfucker. We got work to do. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Open Mike Eagle and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
Have you ever had dreams that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Yeah, we're back here with more Open Mike Eagle and more My Mama Told Me.
Hey, who does your intro? Who did the intro?
Oh, it's this amazing dude. He's a comedian. He's an artist. Much like you, he has more talents than I care for. I get very angry at you sort of like multi-hyphenate people, but his name is Nick Chambers. He's very funny, very talented.
Yeah,
dude.
I gotta find out more, man. That intro is brilliant.
Oh, thanks, man. No, he's the best. I gave him like very little information. I was like, hey, I need an intro song, and here are 5 words to include in it, and he went crazy. So yeah, it was. Nice. He's very dope. And if you guys are listening, follow Nick Chambers. Show him all the love because he's very talented. Anyway, fuck Nick Chambers. We got to get into this research. Nick Chambers could suck my dick. I got research to talk about, Open Mike Eagle.
You're right. My bad, G.
All right. I really found myself sort of deep diving into the history of gayness in television and just sort of its presentation. And one of the things that got really interesting for me was the fact that, and you don't think about this stuff until you actually have to research it, but the first appearance of a homosexual person, sort of openly homosexual at least, on television was in 1973 on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Did you know that? Did you know anything about?
And I'm trying to. I guess I never really saw a lot of that show. I consider myself a TV head, and I grew up watching tons of reruns and stuff. But I think I don't think I caught but a few episodes of Mary Tyler Moore, so I'm not sure which character that was.
I watched it a lot. Nick at Night was my shit for a while. And I watched the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and apparently there was a character in the show who was the brother of one of her friends who then her friend tried to set Mary up with this brother. And then it was later revealed that the brother was in fact gay and he was holding this big secret. And so that was just the arc of an episode. But over the course from 1970 to 1980, there were only 12 shows that at any point introduced a gay character. So 12 in an entire decade, right? And then here's where it gets crazy, because you compare that to 2010 to 2020 decade, the aughts. Is this the aughts? What do you call that?
I guess that people call it the aughts. I try to avoid talking about it altogether just because that name's so stupid. But
sure, you're making the right choice. But it goes from 12 shows in 1970 to now in 2010, 109 shows that include LGBTQ characters. So there's clearly a progression happening here.
Right.
There's an increase, right? What do you do with that?
What do you do with it? You celebrate. Right? Like, I mean, what you're hoping, because I don't know of course, I don't know what ratio or percentage that is of the total number of shows is made, but you're wanting there to be in like a reflection of the percentages in real life. You want it to be approaching that kind of level. And even if it's more, it's like, that's cool too. I don't know. It's to me, that seems only like a good thing. And it seems like the only reason that it wasn't so much before was because everybody thought that was somehow a negative, or everybody was trying to avoid dealing with that sort of issue when it's something is real in life. And
exactly. I think that
those people, exactly. Those people should be represented.
I think that's exactly right. And, in terms of the actual percentage, I did some research on that. GLAAD, which is the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, does like this tracking every year of the number of gay or lesbian, trans, queer people in broadcast television. And this in 2019, of the 879 regular characters expected to appear in broadcast scripted primetime programming, 90 were identified as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or queer. And so that's basically 10.2%, which is the highest percentage GLAAD has found in the 15 years that it's been reporting all these numbers. Which is, like you said, that's progress. Yeah,
but I guess then my next question would be, what is the reported percentage of people who identify as gay in society? And of course, whatever that number is, you'd have to up by some percentage anyway, because not everybody's out. But
I'm glad you're saying that, because internationally, as it's reported, it's somewhere between 1.2 to 6.8% of the population identify as LGBTQ. And to your point, that doesn't account for the massive amounts of people that are not saying anything at fear of judgment, ridicule, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're expanding it globally. I mean, there's some cultures in which it can still be lethal to be seen as gay publicly. So there's no way anybody would ever answer that question honestly in some cultures. So yeah, you'd have to increase that number by some factor.
Yeah, it can't be 1.2. There's no fucking way that 1.2 of the population is gay anywhere. It's got to be more, and y'all got to make peace with that, Nigeria. You know what I mean? Like, get over yourself, Russia, and let these people start kissing each other.
Yeah, let them breathe.
One of the more fascinating things that I sort of found in some of the research, I don't know if you remember this, but that new Beauty and the Beast came out 3 years ago. There was a new Beauty and the Beast, a live action, quote unquote, Beauty and the Beast. And everybody lost their minds because one of the characters ended up being gay by the end of the movie. The LeFou. Do you remember who LeFou is?
I don't. Was he like a candlestick or something? I don't remember. Okay.
No, but he was the Gaston, who's a big buff dude who hates the Beast and hates that old girl Beauty wants to be with him. LeFou was his like sidekick, his main homie, who like would run around and sort of big up him at all times, be like, you are so buff, Gaston. I love your Adam's apple. Oh, that delicious Adam's apple. And everybody he's clearly gay. Your feelings for Gaston are clearly being expressed at all times in everything that he does. And everybody got upset that it turns out they actually made him gay and didn't just like leave him with these feelings smothered underneath.
So who's upset? Who's mad? Families? Who's mad? Christians?
Yeah, a lot of Christians. There was a drive-in theater in Alabama, the Henniger Theater, that basically took to Facebook to say you can feel free to come watch a wholesome movies without worrying about sex, nudity, homosexuality, and foul language. And they refused to play the new Beauty and the Beast, saying that that fell too close to their rules of engagement. You know what I mean?
So the implied bestiality in the movie, they're fine with.
Nah, they're fine
Just
with that.
Perfectly okay for the lady to be with the lion man. It's all good. All
Let
good.
that big ass cursed yak stick his weird dick inside of this beautiful young girl. But don't you dare show them boys kissing each other. I will be furious.
Cursed yak. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's a weird dance that like I think people are constantly playing. And to your point, it's this weird dance of almost not allowing our imaginations to go. Like, it's a movie literally about people turning into household objects.
Right.
You let your imagination go that far, and then you cut it off at sexuality. That's
Right.
absurd.
I don't know. It's so weird. Because what are you afraid of? You're afraid of having to talk to your kids about it? Like, what is the concern here? I mean,
Right.
And it's funny. It's like you said, yeah, like so many other elements of this thing are completely fantastical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even the fact, people just break out in the song.
Yeah.
At the time is weird. It's a weird world, and
Right.
all of that's fine. But then this thing that happens that real human beings have feelings for people of the same gender is somehow not allowed.
I've never once been walking down the street and a bitch just breaks out into rhyme. You know what I mean? Like, just a full song? I've seen some people freestyle, but not a full fucking
Not a full
3-bar,
song.
3-stanza song.
Right, and strangers is joining in, they're doing back and forth and refrains and all of that. No, it doesn't happen.
It's not real. So even if you are in fact homophobic, right? Let's say you truly don't believe that gay people should be getting married or have happiness, whatever it is that helps you sleep at night. The fact that you do that in the middle of a fantasy, you should just be able to say like, well, this is fantasy, so it's not real and therefore doesn't threaten me. But the fact that you can't even dispel it in that just means this is rooted in real hatred and
It's
not
deep
just
hatred.
Yeah, 100%. And this actually brought me to what you were bringing up earlier about the issue of Oz. Right. Oz came up a lot in sort of this fear of homophobia, or rather fear of queerness. And part of it that they sort of explained in the Oz scenario is that they don't actually consider images like the ones you see in shows like Oz or The Wire to be part of the gay agenda, because those men are not consensually being a part of gayness or of queerness, right? That because they're being raped, or because they're in the closet, or because they're somehow treating gayness as something you should be ashamed of, it isn't working towards the gay agenda.
I don't know how much Wire them people watched, man, because Omar wasn't ashamed of nothing. Omar used to walk around with his boo and do crimes. They used to do crimes together and then go home and do what they do. They was cool.
That's fair.
They wouldn't worry about nothing.
Omar was whistling, and it wasn't just because he was murdering people. It's because he got some dick.
Right. Yeah, no, he was fully satisfied, man. So yeah, that's a weird kind of cognitive dissonance they talking about there, man. Because I feel like that's one of the real brilliant aspects of Omar's character
specifically,
is that he wasn't ashamed of anything, and he was the scariest dude on the block. But his lifestyle and how he lived it was completely his business, and something he wasn't afraid to wear at all, even though he's in a situation where he knows that he's surrounded by homophobic people. He was choosing to live his life.
And to that point, you're hearing all of like the language around the way that they talked about Omar, right? That they're using derogatory language when
referring to him,
to him, right? But their argument, I guess, at its essence is like that derogatory language protects us from the cell of homosexuality. Wow. When in fact, to your larger point, that's not the big takeaway of the Wire. You're not supposed to watch it and go, you know what? Stringer Bell was right. This dude, he was really nailing it.
Oh man, yeah, Marlo speaks for us all, right?
Yeah,
no, that's not the thing. It's so, I mean, why can't these people just say that's a really good show and it's got gay stuff in it and that's okay? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all they seem like they're trying to do is make excuses for shows that they think are good.
Right.
So that they can keep watching the show that they think is good, and they can have, reasons that they hide away with to make it okay, to excuse it for them. But it's so strange to have to jump through all those hoops to engage with a television show where something really, I mean, in Oz is weird because in Oz it was a lot of non-consensual. It was used as a weapon and a way to dominate people in a lot of senses. And I think there were some genuine relationships in that setting too, but it was also weaponized it was used in a lot of different contexts than just, normal sexual behavior. But,
right.
I think specifically the way they did that in The Wire was beautiful because even in the presentation of it as a real life thing that just happened to be a part of this guy's character, they also didn't go the step of making a huge deal about it like it was some triumphant thing that they were doing. They just presented it as normal, just like there's heterosexual sex scenes in that show, there's homosexual sex scenes in that show, and they were both kind of like treated equally.
Yeah.
And neither were trumpeted as some grand accomplishment. It was just showing you life in this scenario, and sex is part of life.
If anything, I would say that the heterosexual relationships were more toxic than even like the ones that Omar had. Like, if nothing else, his relationships were almost the healthiest part of him. And then, his choices beyond that, although fucking cool as shit, probably weren't necessarily as admirable.
True.
One of the things that really got me excited, probably in the wrong ways, but I couldn't help but enjoy, was I ended up down a YouTube tunnel of like all the like Hotep conspiracy theorists.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's fun.
Here we go.
It's a fun time. Probably not in a way that it's supposed to be. But, but one of the things that basically a lot of people argue is that there's no way into Hollywood. There's no way into real success in Hollywood without committing to sell your soul through some version of homosexuality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, if I'm understanding correctly, then that's also kind of points back to the dress thing, right? Like, that you choose the dress, and you have to choose the dress, or else you won't have a career.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and okay, and this is, I'm gonna tell you, this gets hairy for me, because when you asked me this question earlier, where my mind went was to how, at the end of the day, all the corporations just want to make money, right?
Yeah.
So in that, it kind of filters out some of the conspiracy BS for me. But I do think there is also a long documented history of like people in Hollywood doing nasty stuff behind the scenes.
Yes.
And that also, the nastiness of that also gets into hiring and casting choices. And that in many ways has interfered with the money making on that level.
To that point, I think what we're seeing is that humans are horny as fuck, right? That like, despite it being heterosexual, homosexual, whatever's in between, it's just a dude being like, I'm trying to see something, and I'm gonna make this, I've got enough money to make this person with talent show me there's something for my benefit. So yes, the nastiness 100% exists, but is that rooted in like a want to undermine a community? Probably not. It's just a dude being a yucky person.
It is. And it's not to undermine a community, but it is in a way systemic, but it's systemic in the same ways it's systemic in government, in the same ways it's systemic in like mega churches. Like, wherever there's cults of personality, there's people using their position to take advantage of other people. And, in the entertainment industry, there's just a long, nasty history of it. And I think that if you look at the occurrences of disgusting things there and ways that people's lives have been ruined, it's easy to also conflate that with something along the lines of the Hotep philosophies.
Yeah.
Where, where you gotta choose to go gay or else. And in some situations where there are some casting directors or some managers or some agents that are gay or omni or whatever, they do use their position to make sure that they have that sort of access to their clients and they put those clients in the best positions.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not like a contractual thing.
No.
You know what I'm saying? When you
Right.
get it, when you ink a 6-picture deal where there's a clause, you know what I'm saying? It's not that thing.
You didn't sign this in booty blood. This is just this is just a thing that happened to come up, and so you decide whether or not you're gonna continue and be a part of it or not, and that's
Right.
okay in either
Yeah.
direction. I will say my absolute favorite suggestion that I saw in one of these videos was there was one dude who claimed that the reason Chadwick Boseman died was because of his unwillingness to continue his commitment in
Wow.
the gay agenda, that like Hollywood
Wow.
had him murdered for
Wow.
not wanting to be gay again.
Wow. Oh, that reminds me. This is how I really at one point I thought I made it, because there was a very old Hotep on YouTube who made this whole video about how Comedy Central was making this show called The New Negro, and it was to further emasculate the black community. I thought we had arrived.
Oh,
man.
shit.
I thought we had arrived.
And that was the
when I
whole
saw that.
video?
That was the whole video.
Oh, that's fucking tight.
He saw an advertisement for our show and could not wait to hop in front of his computer
Whoa.
and talk about how they were doing it again.
Man, and so was the
Yeah.
suggestion that y'all were gay? What was that? What part of
His wasn't gay. It was just about it would be more along the lines of the emasculation by like wearing a dress, or like we were coons, or
you were
that
cooning
direction
for Comedy Central.
exactly, and that we were somehow tools
Sure.
of Viacom trying to subjugate our own community
Wow.
on behalf of them.
That's wild.
It was wild.
Did you ever have a part of you that wanted to respond? Did you write under the comments? Did you do anything?
Oh man, but I showed Baron, and I wanted to show everybody. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to like really run with it on YouTube. But I think once I saw that though, it also kind of gave me pause too. Like
Mhm.
it was a situation that caused me to look at what I was doing from a different perspective quickly. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, people could really think that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so that was interesting too. Like, to be inside of it and to know exactly what it is. But then to also see something that makes me look at the title of our own show, like, oh dang. Like, I wonder if other people are going to
Right.
think that, you know?
Well, that you're bringing up something really fascinating that I think is sometimes hard to articulate, but maybe this will be a great entrance, is that I don't think there's a way to exist in Hollywood without being a coon at some point. Do you know what I mean? Like for somebody. It doesn't mean
Right.
that you are in fact a quote unquote coon. It doesn't even mean that I think we have an objective definition of what that actually is. But it almost is a certainty that somebody's going to be like, man, he's a sellout. He don't believe in black people. Look, he could have done it this way or that way. And it's like, nah, I got a show and I put
Yeah.
black people on. I don't understand. Like, at what point did this become, detrimental to my own community?
Well, I think the stark realization for me and for Baron was the realization that the problem is you don't get to have the conversation with everybody who has
Yep.
those thoughts. Like, they see a title, they see an ad, they may watch the show, they may not ever watch the show, but their thoughts are going to form based on the information they're presented and whatever kind of person they are already. And you don't get to explain to them the power that we had, that we're executive producers, that we got to have, as many black people as we could find to work on the show, to be on the
Right.
show, and everything that it meant to us to do it and the ways we went about that. We don't get to actually open that part of it up for people. And so in some ways, like you're saying, you can't control what people take and run with, because you don't get a chance to sit with them and tell them what really happened.
100%. There's nothing you can do to convince me that lady Flo from Progressive ain't an asshole. I think she, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that is an asshole of a human being. She's a piece of shit. I'll never forgive her for what she's done. But the reality is Flo's a real person who might have real say in the way that these ads are being shaped, and like the messaging, and being able to create, add humor to a thing that otherwise might have been just a straight ad read. And that's an unfair judgment that's being placed on her, much in the way that you guys are dealing with. And so I apologize, Flo, but fuck you at the same time. All right, we're going to take one more break. We'll be back with more Open Mike Eagle and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
If you want to reach those kids on the street, then you gotta do a rap to a hip-hop beat. So I gave my sermon an urban kick. My rhymes are fly, my beats are sick. My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's cause Jesus Christ is my nigga.
Yeah, we're back here with more Open Mike Eagle. More My Mama Told Me.
No. What was that? Who is that?
I don't know. It's just a man I saw on YouTube spitting bars. Open Mike.
Did he say it? Did he say it?
Did he say
it at the? Oh my God.
Of course he said it. He's not a coward. Jesus Christ is his nigga. I think it was genuinely meant to be like a tutorial or like a thing to get young people involved in the church. And boy, did it go wrong. But I've had fun with it. I love dropping it wherever I can.
That hurt. That hurt a little bit. I thought the show was going real well. Now my feelings is hurt.
Well, it's only going to get worse, because now we're going to play a game. This is I'm going to play a game with you. This is a very fun game that I like to call White Lies.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
White Lies. This is a fun game where I'm going to present to you a conspiracy theory mostly supported in the white community. And what I would love for you to do is to really unpack it and figure out why you think white people are so invested in this conspiracy theory.
Oh, this is going to be great.
Yes, it's great. Tell me what these sneaky motherfuckers are up to. Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
All right. So the conspiracy theory, I don't know how much you track QAnon. I don't know if you're a QAnon.
Oh, no,
head.
I know all about QAnon.
Okay,
that
beautiful.
Shit is hilarious.
There's some of the funniest people on the internet, and they don't get enough credit for being hilarious. But one of the things that QAnon members have started to sort of believe and maintain and circulate is that JFK Jr. is still alive. And for some reason is now a Trump supporter who is going to be showing up at his rallies or events now that he no longer is president. My question for you, why do you think it's so important for these white people to believe that JFK Jr. is still alive?
Oh, man, because they really want to believe that the tables have turned to where, a lot of these people probably used to be Democrats. And they really want to believe that the left and the Democrats have become evil, and they eat babies and they throw children out of windows. They really want to believe that. And one of the things going to help them believe it is if somebody who they used to love, who was part of, the last probably Democratic regime that they really respected.
Right.
If somebody on that side sees it all clearly and is going to tell on everybody. And they're waiting, like that's going to be their savior. That's what's going to make everything make sense for them. In their head, it already exists. So that's what has made it make sense for them. But they need JFK Jr. to help it make sense for all of us.
Right.
That's what they waiting on.
That's very astute. Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. So it means that JFK Jr. is sort of like the last semblance of like a truth that they do believe about Democrats and about sort of like what Democrats used to represent. It's like how Republicans still bring up Abraham Lincoln as a way of like justifying all the evil that they've done since, because it's like, nah, remember our boy freed the slaves, so
So we still good. We still the good guys, no matter what. Like,
it's a little more complicated than that, Playboy. Yeah, he freed the slaves, but I don't even know if he wanted to, and that's a different conversation.
And that was many hundreds of years ago.
Right. It wasn't recent. It certainly
Stuff
wasn't.
has happened since. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that. So they're sitting here going, if JFK Jr. is still alive, then he'll come back and he'll show the Democrats what's what and what they should have been and what they could have been. I think we did it. I think we nailed the episode. What a great time. Nice. Could you tell the people where they can find you on the internet, cool shit you got going on, whatever?
Yeah, man. I just put out the album, like you said, Anime Trauma Divorce, which is out everywhere. Music is legal. I have a podcast network called Stony Island Audio, and there's a bunch of shows that we have on there that are mostly from the hip hop perspective. What else? Yeah, and that's really it. And I'm always on Twitter, Mike_Eagle, letting people know all of the shit that I get up to and my weird thoughts about what's happening in the world.
Fuck yeah. And as always, you can follow me at Langston Kerman and follow, like and subscribe on the podcast. And if you have drop ideas or if you have conspiracy theories or art or whatever it is that you like to send, please send it to mymommapod@gmail.com. We would love to see your shit. And this has been amazing. Open Mike Eagle, everybody. Okay, bye.